Okay, Mr. Jonah, you could start.
Great. Well, salam alaikum. I hope I pronounced that correctly. That's the only phrase I know in Arabic, so I tried my best, but I hope you are all doing well. Thank you all so much for being here. I want to thank Mr. Ayman for inviting me to do this. It is so great to be here. And I also want to thank Dr. Mazen Balila for all of his work over the years with Leadership Management International and being such a wonderful leader and doing so many amazing things in the entire GCC region, especially in Saudi Arabia as well. So welcome to today's webinar on a unique process for a changing environment. Like Mr. Ayman said, we will be doing a presentation first, and then I'll take questions at the end. So please make sure you're keeping track of your questions as we go, and look forward to having some discussion here at the end as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first I want to start with the problem, and there is a problem. There's a problem with leadership development. Leadership development is a huge industry around the world. It's becoming more and more of a buzzword. It's becoming more and more important for every business around the world, realizing in the great resignation with so many people leaving their jobs, leaving their companies they've been a part of for a long time, with COVID happening, ushering in this new world of remote work and people working a hybrid, maybe a little bit at home, maybe at the office a little bit, whatever it may be. There's this need to develop leaders at all levels of the organization. There's this need for improved communication, improved team development, all these very important qualities. And budgets are incredibly tight. ROI is more important than ever before, because with budgets so tight, people need to know that they're getting a positive return on their investment when they make an investment in their people. And so 10% of CEOs believe current development initiatives have a clear impact on their business. So only 1 in 10 CEOs believe that the current development things that they're doing are even having a clear impact on their business. So that's not saying 1 in 10 people are investing in their business. That means 1 in 10 of the people that are investing in their business even believe that investment is doing anything. And it's not a small investment. It's a $166 billion industry. $166 billion was spent on leadership development last year alone. $166 billion. So with so much money being spent on something, you would hope that more than 1 in 10 individuals would think that their current development initiatives are having a clear impact. So information overload usually kicks in for most employees. And what happens is this training, this leadership development that people are doing, is they're just bringing in a speaker or a trainer or a coach or a guru or something like that for a few hours or a couple days of meetings or something like that. And they do these big training sessions with their team. You've probably been a part of this before. And they're just lecturing on basic leadership principles and ideas and different things like that. So according to some information that came out from the University of Waterloo, people forget about 98% of what they learn after just 1 month. So from this presentation today, you will probably forget about 98% of what I say today, because it's just a presentation. You're hearing it one time, you're hearing it from me. It's not super interactive, it's just a presentation. You'll only probably remember 2% of today's presentation and all presentations that you hear. So with $166 billion being spent on leadership development, is a 2% boost in knowledge actually worth it? Is that even worth it? Why are we spending so much for such a small increase? And I want you to think back a bit. What's the biggest investment you've made in your own personal life? A common answer from many people is your education. So whether you got just an undergrad degree, you got your master's or a doctorate or whatever it may be, you invested a lot of money and a lot of time in your development. Well, studies have come out, and I encourage you to look them up, that they have taken college students and doctorate students and different things, and then 5, 10, 20 years down the road, they've given those students the same exams that they took in college and asked them to complete those exams and see if they could pass their classes. An overwhelming amount of previous students all failed the exams that they used to pass and do and excel in. And why is that? It's because they're not actually remembering things. They were cramming information into their heads to pass exams. The same thing is happening with leadership development. We're bringing in these trainers and these coaches and these gurus to talk, and it's just information over and over and over. And there's so much information that we just keep it in our heads, and then we forget about it later on. We're just trying to cram, and then we only remember about 2% of the knowledge that was shared with us. So there's a huge problem. However, leaders need training. Leaders need development. Leaders need and are crying out for more training. There's over 10,000 baby boomers, the generation baby boomers, over 10,000 retiring every single day. So more and more unqualified employees are being thrust into leadership roles with no prior training. So I want you to think about that. With 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day, and that was just a statistic in the US alone. This statistic came from the US. So think about around the world, with just 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day in the US, think about how many are retiring in Saudi Arabia, in the UK, in Australia, in Zimbabwe, wherever. Globally, there's probably 100,000 or more retiring every single day, baby boomers. And so when you think about that, who is taking those roles? That doesn't mean those jobs are gone, those roles are gone. It means 10,000, 100,000 people are being thrust into new leadership roles. Are those people ready? Are they prepared? If you look at today's trends with technology, with communication and those kinds of things, a lot of people are not ready to communicate effectively, to lead themselves effectively, to be productive with their time, to lead an organization, to lead a team. So 93% of managers need training on coaching their employees. So there's all these new managers taking these roles where they need to coach employees and take care of people and lead people well. 93% of them are putting their hand up and saying, hey, I need help. I don't know how to do this. Will you help me? 93%, but only 19% of business leaders view leadership development programs as relevant to the issues they face. So business leaders are saying, okay, I want to help my managers coach their people, but I don't know what to use because I don't think the leadership development programs that are out there, these training programs where people just come in and do lectures, I don't think they're actually helping. So what is even more alarming is that an incredibly small amount of leaders believe the leadership training they have received is even relevant. So something has to change. Something must change. And a quote from the Harvard Business Review by Reid Hoffman: business leaders must become what we call infinite learners, those who not only enjoy learning, but feel a constant need to acquire new skills. So we can't just take a job and run with it. We have to take this new position as a leader and be an infinite learner, constantly learning, constantly mastering our skills and acquiring new ones as well. So I want you to look at this graph real quick. This is one graph from a study that was done on the ages of different age groups and how comfortable they are asking for and acting on feedback. And I want you to see something here. Some people think, well, as people get older, they don't ask for any help. They don't want any help, no feedback. And when people are young, they're too prideful. They don't want help. They don't want feedback. They think they know what they're doing. If you can see here, 66% of people ages 25 to 35 want feedback and act on the feedback when it's given to them in the correct way. And so it does go down, but even those who are 61 and older, so closer to retirement age, even 43%, almost 1 out of every 2 people is saying, hey, I'm asking for and I want to act on the feedback I'm being given. People want to be developed. People want to be helped. People need training, especially younger generations, but even older generations as well. It's for everyone. Everyone needs training and development. So upcoming leaders want help. This new wave of leaders, they need help, they need development. According to the graph I just shared on the previous slide, it is clear to see the younger employees who will be taking over leadership positions in the near future want help. Young potential leaders want feedback and will actually act on it. They don't just want feedback, they want to take action. That's a formula for success. 75% of the workforce will be millennials or less or younger by the year 2025. It is 2022. We're 3 years away from 3/4 of the workforce being millennials and Gen Z. That's huge. That's a lot. So I'm a millennial, and my generation, the generation below me, we're going to be making up 3 out of every 4 individuals in the workforce in the next 3 years. So there's no time to waste. We can't say, well, I want to develop people, I want to develop leaders, but I need a little more time. Well, whether we want to admit it or not, the workforce is aggressively changing. Remember how many people are retiring? Sooner than later, the leadership that has been in place in many organizations for years will all be retired. This means new leaders will take over. Again, those positions aren't going away. New people will take over, but are those leaders prepared? And if not now, when? When will they take over? So action must be taken now to prepare the company for the future. 84% of organizations anticipate a shortfall of leaders in the next 5 years. So you look at that, 75% of the workforce will be millennials by the year 2025, and 84% of organizations anticipate that there's going to be some huge challenges in leadership in the next 5 years. So there's a huge need. It's coming. We can't avoid it. So what do? There's no time to waste. We have to do something. Confident, effective leaders are paramount to the success of peak performing organizations. So to compete both locally and globally, today's leaders, everyone has to actually have knowledge and training to be successful. They can't just say, here's the job, go do it. They need to know what to do, why they're doing it, how to do it, but not just be told. They need to be shown, and they need to be internally motivated to do that. And also, I put the words locally and globally because businesses are becoming more and more cross-border, cross-culture. With things becoming more and more remote, just here at LMI, we'll sell a program somewhere to a company that's stationed somewhere. And then individuals that are taking that program that work for a company in one country will actually have employees in 10 different countries if it's 10 participants. So to make an impact in all these places, they're not getting together and having in-person meetings all the time. So they're not getting this external motivation all the time. They need to have internal motivation based around their goals so that they can be confident, effective leaders that are trained and ready to do what they need to do. That's the only way you can become a peak performing organization moving into the future. So the world needs effective leaders fast. This was a statistic sent to me by a USA partner that was shared on NBC News yesterday. According to Consumer Confidential, which is an organization that does a lot of statistics and a lot of studies, this was shared on NBC News yesterday morning, so August 4th. The top 4 most in-demand skills in the workforce today, as of right now, as of yesterday, number 1 is proper goal setting. Number 2 is a growth mindset. Number 3 is critical thinking, and 4 is team collaboration. That's right now. These aren't statistics about projections that may or may not come true. This is real time. This is based on real numbers from a real study that just happened. The number 1 most in-demand skill right now is goal setting. Number 1 that people need. Because again, you got to think about it. People are working remote. They're working hybrid. They need to be internally motivated. They need to have goals both personally and professionally that they're actively going towards themselves. They need to have a growth mindset, consistently wanting to improve, and they need to be internally motivated to do that. They need to have critical thinking skills, because when you're not in an office surrounded by people, you can't just go find someone and get an answer. You need to be able to think for yourself, develop things when things get hard, think through challenges and obstacles and overcome them. 4, team collaboration. You need to know how to collaborate in person, virtually, with a hybrid schedule, no matter how it is. People from different countries with language barriers, you need to learn how to collaborate no matter where you are, where you're from, or where you're working. So what defines an effective leader? We need an effective leader, but what actually defines an effective leader? Some categories that we believe define an effective leader are people skills. You need to know how to work with people, love on people, serve people well, take care of people, meet people's needs, create a motivational environment for both internal motivation and external motivation. You need to have a clear vision and be able to clearly communicate that vision and goals to others. They need to have clearly defined goals. They need to value their team members. So it's not just me against the world. It's me with my team. I'm serving my team to help better the organization and others. They need to be good listeners, active listening, asking questions, taking in knowledge from others and learning from constructive feedback. They need to be organized. Why do I do what I do? When do I do what I do? What are my high payoff activities? They need to be productive. They don't need to be busy. There's a huge difference between being busy and being productive. They need to be productive individuals, and they need to be focused. There's so much noise in the world today between social media, billboard ads when you're driving, commercials on television, streaming ads if you're streaming something. When you read, there's ads everywhere. There's email lists that you're on, text messaging, whatever it may be. There's constant advertisements, people trying to get your attention to do something or not do something. You have to be able to block those things out and zero in and focus on exactly what the goal is and what you need to do. These are some things that define an effective leader. So if companies worldwide are filled with average producers, that doesn't mean they're filled with average people. People are not average. It means they're producing average results. So how can we turn these people who are not average people, they're just getting average results, how can we turn them into effective leaders that have all of these qualities that we just shared? Well, there is a way. People might already know what changes need to be made in their organization or even in their own personal life. But like all leaders, they need a process to facilitate those changes. And that's where LMI excels. So again, people are not average. People have an immense amount of potential just waiting to burst forth, just waiting to get out. But they need a way to get it out. You can't just say, all right, just use your full potential. Now go do it. Do this, do that. That doesn't work. It does not work. It has to come from inside through internal motivation, through a well-written process where they have their own personal and professional goals that they can actually become effective leaders and make the changes that are needed to be made. The philosophy of Leadership Management International, the organization we work with, is based upon the premise that individuals have an unlimited potential to make more of themselves in their organizations. Their only real limitations are self-imposed. So we're not saying that there's no limitations. There are limitations, but those limitations come from us. So if the limitations come from us, the solutions can come from us too. And those solutions just need to be brought out through a process that shows us how to use our potential to make an impact. So we all have this potential that has been given to us from birth to do something great, to make a change in the world, to make an impact. Every single individual in the world has that potential. But what do they use it for? We need to tap into that potential to get them to use it in a productive way that makes a positive impact on organizations and individuals around the world. The LMI process provides long-lasting change that helps companies truly achieve their full potential. Because what is a company? A company is just a group of individuals with unlimited potential. So if you have a group of individuals with unlimited potential, that means your company has unlimited potential as well. But your company can't achieve that full potential if your people aren't achieving their full potential. So what can you use? You've got books, seminars, lectures, articles, social media, YouTube videos, mastermind classes, all these different things. They're not bad. They're not bad. We're not saying they're not effective at some things, but what they do is they produce emotional highs. They get you really excited. How many of you have gone to hear an amazing speaker before and you leave and you feel like you want to pump your fists in the air, like you're going to change the world? Like, yes, that was amazing. I'm going to do it. And then look at your life a year from then. How much have you actually changed? How much has actually changed? Go back to what we talked about earlier. Remember, you're only going to remember about 2% of what you hear. So it doesn't matter how excited you get, you're still only going to remember about 2%. And are you even going to act on that 2% if there's not a process in place to help you act on it? The LMI process has withstood the test of time. It was founded in the 1960s and has impacted more than 2 million people around the world in over 90 countries and has brought forth incredible life-changing results time and time again. Back in the 90s, we had a hard time keeping up with our testimonials that were coming in from people around the world. So our founder, Paul J. Meyer, published a book called A World of Success. That was a pretty big book that was just customer testimonials from people who had gone through the LMI process. And we would just start giving it out to people saying, if you don't believe you can take control of your life, I just want you to hear from these people because you can. These are people in the United States, in Saudi Arabia, in China, in the UK, in Australia, all over the world, all saying the same things. So you can take control. You just have to have a process to help you do it, to use your full potential. So what is the LMI process? How does it work? Well, we use a thing called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition operates on the fact that you're only going to remember about 2% of what you hear one time. So if that's the case, then if you hear it multiple times and use multi-sensory perception, which means you're using your sight, sounds, writing, you're using as many senses as you can, and doing that multiple times, you'll start to actually internalize concepts to be able to apply them and actually remember things. So in the LMI process, we don't say, here's some lesson content, listen to it or read it, and then come back when you're done. No. You don't hear it once. You don't read it once. You do it a minimum of 6 times. And every time you slowly but surely start to remember more to where it becomes internalized. And the magic number of 6 is once you hear and write and listen to something 6 times, it truly becomes internalized to where it starts changing your conditioning. So you go from spaced repetition to conditioning. What conditioning means is that your attitudes, it's pre-attitude, just the way you think about things starts to change. Something happens, I'm a failure, I can't do it. You think, no, I can do this. How am I going to do it? This is a real obstacle, but how am I going to overcome this? What can I do to overcome this? Your conditioning starts to change. The way you think about things changes. Once the way you think about things changes, your habits of thought and your preconceived ideas of no, this can't be done changes to a positive attitude. And all an attitude is a habit of thought. The habit of thought of yes, I can instead of no, I can't. Once your attitude changes, your behavior and your actions change. Once your behavior and your actions change, you start to see real results, because you can't just get results by thinking about it. You get results by doing. So once our attitudes and habits of thought have changed, our actions and our behaviors change, we produce real results. Real results get us to success. So it starts with spaced repetition and ends with success. All development programs preach that success will be achieved. That is nothing new. So whether you're a speaker, you wrote a book, you wrote an article, you're come in for a one-day training, whatever it may be, everyone is going to say, if you finish this, you will achieve results. You will achieve success. That's not new. However, the starting point of their programs and their training, they don't bring forth the desired results. And the reasoning is what they do is they come in and they analyze the problems currently facing the organization or team. And then the program shifts to its focus on solving the issue. And the problem is they're not allowing the individuals to solve the issues, and the individuals are fully capable of solving the issues. They're saying, hey, I'm the expert. I'm going to tell you what to do. And the solution is presented to the team, not by the team. So all the motivations are external. So if I come into your group today and I say, what are the issues going on? And we identify those. And then I say, okay, now listen to me. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. How motivating is that? You're just being told what to do by someone else who really doesn't know you well. Why should you trust what I say you should do for your business and your goals? Why should you do that? However, if I came to you and said, let's identify the problems being faced, and then I had a series and a process of questions and practical action steps that got you to figure out the solution and implement the solution yourself, that's an internal motivation, not an external. That is what we do at LMI. This form of training of coming and just telling you, hey, listen to me, I'm the expert, I'll tell you what to do. It doesn't take much time, but it doesn't produce results either. So it's not effective. It's quick, it's fast, it's easy, but it doesn't produce long-term results. If it was that easy, everyone would do it and every business would be doing fine. But clearly it's not working because they're not getting the results that they need to get. And what is the point of training if results are not easily measurable? What's the point of even taking a day to do training, one day, if there's no results from it? And so how can you possibly know if the training was even worth it without measurable results? So the key element to LMI is spaced repetition, like I discussed previously. This is something called the forgetting curve. You can Google it and look it up and read about it. It's an amazing concept that's been proven time and time again. So these are the first 4 reminders. Again, when you get to the 6th reminders, when you really start to internalize it, but I want to start with the first 4 reminders. So if you look, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but look at the blue dot on the far left, that light blue dot. You start and you've got all this information. You've got the chance of remembering. It's all the way up, but then the days go by on the bottom. On that x-axis there. So the y-axis, you got chance of remembering days is the x-axis there. As the days go by, you forget. By the end, you remember 2% of what you heard, right? Well, then you listen to it again, that first reminder. Well, it goes all the way back up to the front of your brain. And then, yeah, it still goes down, but it doesn't go down as much. But if you just stopped at that first reminder, you're still not remembering that much, right? Because look at the end of the graph, it's still pretty low. We want to remember more than that. So you go to your second reminder of something. It brings it back up to the top of your brain again, the front of your brain. You remember it. Well, it's still going to go down. We're not remembering everything yet. It hasn't been internalized. Okay, so let's go to a third reminder. This is the fourth time we've heard it. We heard it once, first reminder, second reminder, third reminder. Brings it back up to the front of the brain again. Still going to go down a little bit. But then you go to that fourth reminder and it brings it back up again. It's going to go down just a little bit. That fifth reminder is where it stays because it's been internalized. So once we hear something once and then we're reminded of it 5 times using touch, sight, sound, all these different senses, we truly internalize the concept, and that forgetting curve flattens out and we actually remember and internalize the concepts. That's why the LMI process uses spaced repetition so much in multisensory perception. So as you can see, by reviewing information each and every day using spaced repetition, one begins to actually internalize what they are learning. They don't just hear it and move on. They actually internalizing. It takes over. It changes their attitudes, changes their actions to get results. So instead of letting that information come in one ear and go out the other, the information truly absorbs into your long-term memory bank. According to Professor Gabe Tenenbaum, a Suffolk Law faculty member, by using spaced repetition, users are projected to remember 92% of the material. 92%. Remember at the beginning, we talked about you're going to forget 98% and remember 2%. We've completely flipped the script by using spaced repetition. Now we're remembering 92% and only forgetting about 8%. That's huge. That's real change that actually has an impact. And when was the last time you or your employees remembered 92% of a lecture, a workshop, or a seminar? Think about the best lecture you've ever heard in your life. Do you remember 92% of it, or do you remember 1 or 2 points from it that really stuck with you over time? Probably 1 or 2 points from it. So what do we do? How do we get started? What's that step? At LMI, we've developed the total leader concept. We start with a thing called personal productivity. It's 4 programs that take place over a long period of time. First, we start with personal productivity, because before you can lead anyone, including yourself, you have to be able to take advantage of the 24 hours that you've been given every single day. You have to know how to manage your time before you can lead anyone else. So you have to be productive, not busy. You may feel productive, but you might just be busy. And so we start with personal productivity. Then we move to personal leadership. So before you can lead others, you have to know how to lead yourself in all areas of life, not just professionally, but personally as well. Once we're done with personal leadership, then we go to motivational leadership, which is once you know how to manage your time and lead yourself, then you lead others. You know how to lead a team, delegate tasks, inspire others, those kinds of things. Well, once you've mastered your time, you've mastered leading yourself, and you've mastered leading a team, then you know how to lead an entire organization. And that's what we learn in strategic leadership. That's leading an entire organization, setting a vision, a strategy, and implementing that strategy. This takes time. You can't just come in and have someone tell you how to do this and then do all of this. It's impossible. But over time and through practice and through repetition, we can actually implement all of these things. We'll be able to master our time, master our personal leadership, master our leadership of teams, and master our leadership of an entire organization. We have 4 total leader programs that were just shown on that graph. What are those programs? In the personal productivity program, they evaluate their attitude and make productive behavioral changes. They set goals, achieve results. It's a quick program to get some quick results. So we start increasing our high payoff activities and decreasing our low payoff activities. Personal leadership, we realize our personal leadership potential by building upon strengths and improving our self-image. Everyone's better at some things than others. We are given certain gifts from birth that we're just naturally better at other people. I could say I wanted to be a professional football player. I'm not good at football, so it doesn't matter how hard I work at it. So why would I try to focus on becoming a good football player when I have been gifted in other things? Let me focus on my strengths and be the best I can be at mastering my strengths. That's what we do in our personal leadership program. We increase our self-motivation and we develop a written plan of action for success and develop a life balance. Motivational leadership. We understand what it takes to become an effective leader of others and develop and communicate a vision for the future to our teams. We create winning teams, promote growth and advancement, and establish an organization of leaders throughout the entire team. Strategic leadership is clarifying your strategic purpose for your entire organization. Why does your organization even exist? Why are you here? That's what this program does. We create a strategic development plan and then implement it and make it happen. So we think about why we're here, create the plan, and then actually implement it. And then with all of this, the last tool is a thing called the triangle of communication, because with the world changing so rapidly, we all need to become better communicators, because we're working remotely, we're working hybrid, we're working in office. People are spread out all over different countries, cities, states, wherever they may be, regions. So we need to become better communicators, both virtually and in person. So throughout the entire LMI development process, all individuals work with the participant who's going through the course, the facilitator who's facilitating the LMI course to them, and a manager mentor who's helping keep the participant accountable to the results they desire to achieve. So you're learning how to communicate while you're developing your skills with your manager, with your mentor, with a facilitator who's helping you find the answers in the program, and with your team as you go through the program with your team members. So it's not only increasing the skills in the program, but improving overall team dynamics and communication throughout the entire professional process with LMI. So with that, in conclusion, one, to make it real, just boiled down and simple, companies need leaders fast. There's no time to waste. Upcoming leaders desire leadership development. Leaders are not being developed. The current leadership development process is ineffective at best, and a solution to this current problem does exist. The solution to this problem is LMI's patented and proven success plan. There's an unlimited amount of potential inside every single person on this call, every single employee, and every single organization. All it takes is the right development process to bring that full potential forth. And what would it mean for you and your organization if your people began fulfilling their full potential? What would be true? And I want you to let your mind wander about that. What would be true of your organization if every single person in your organization achieved their full potential? What would happen? I mean, the possibilities are endless. In your personal life, what would happen if you reached your full potential in all areas of life? What would happen? And so with that question, I want to say thank you all so much for allowing me to be here and present to you all. I'd love to take some questions. I don't know how you want me to go from here. I'm happy to take questions, whatever is best.
Thank you for this presentation. It's the time now for anyone has any question. Please raise your hands, and we will let you ask your questions. Also, if anyone he can't ask his question using his mic, they can write their question in the chat box. So please ask your questions. Okay, there is a question from Mrs. Amani.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Thank you so very much for the actually spectacular presentation. I think it was way on point. My question is, since now we're talking about change management within the organization environment, how can you convince the leaders within the organization that this is like a must, that they have to be adapting right now? I mean, if we can maybe talk about 2 points that would help the highest executive management in the organization understand the importance about adapting change management in the LMI process. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. I'll go back in my presentation just a little bit, because I believe, let me find it real quick. I want to make sure I answer you correctly. I believe the statistic about people retiring is an incredibly powerful one. And the fact that 93% of managers need training and coaching on employees I think that's a very powerful statistic. And the reason I say that is a lot of decision makers want facts, not feelings. And so if you can share some real, hard statistics with them saying, look, people are leaving, people are retiring, and the whole world has changed in the last 3 years. If our process has not changed as fast as the world has changed, that means we're behind. And so as fast as the world has changed and how quickly people are retiring and leaving and moving on to the next stage of life, we have new people that need new skills that are going to take these roles. So what's our plan? And I pose the question, what's our plan for all of these people in our organization that are moving up? You know, I would ask, if you're in the organization and you're talking to the decision maker, to the CEO, say, who do you see? Yeah, ask for names. Who do you see is going to be taking over in the next 5 years? The important positions. Who's taking this over? Who's in charge? And once you decide those names, say, do you think if we gave that to them right now that they would be ready for that? The answer is probably no, right? And so if the answer is no, then what are we going to do to get them ready? Because if we don't do anything to get them ready, they're not just going to naturally get there. They need real training, hands-on training to get there. And so I would use real statistics, real hard data that shows that people are leaving, and there's empty gaps in leadership now all over the world. So you get that macro data that proves that this is true, no matter how we feel about it, is a fact. But then the second part is boil that down to the micro issue of the organization, saying, now bringing that here, who do you see leaving in the near future? Who's going to take their spot, and are they ready? So we need to start getting them ready. That's how I would do it. So I hope that's helpful. The combination of the macro data and the micro solutions to the organization specifically.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, that's clearly answers my question. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. Any more? Okay, Mr. Hassan Kassab.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, LMI, for this opportunity to have such a discussion, and for you as well, Jonah. The concerns I'm having in my mind is actually, I personally believe it's not about developing the new leader as much as creating the culture. This comes in the first place rather than creating the leaders themselves. So when we are talking about it, within the organization itself, we should have this culture of change, this kind of agility to be able to have a new blood from different generations in here. If the company, the management of the company or the strategic vision of the company don't provide this culture to their staff and their team, I think there will be a huge gap. So no matter how much we train our people, even if we got them the best kind of training, as you mentioned, but if the culture is not there within the organizations, I think will be wasted. And might also support the lady who asked the same questions. We need to embed a little bit about culture and having a learning culture, having a culture of agility, having the culture of, we need to be more developed and ready for the futures. Nobody expected COVID, but it hit us really bad.
Yeah, that's great. And so I would definitely echo that. And I agree with you 100%. What I would say is culture is a word that's said a lot, but if you break down, well, what is culture? All culture is the people that make up the organization. So you can't change culture without changing people, because you can write a new vision statement or mission statement or whatever and put it everywhere and think that's going to change culture. But if the people don't change and the leaders don't change, then nothing actually changes. It's like if I passed a new law and said, okay, this is going to change things. Well, if no one follows the law, then nothing's actually changed because the people haven't changed. This law says that this is how it is, right? And so I do think you have to have a new culture in place. And I think culture always starts top down. And so that's why we believe at LMI, the first person that should go through an LMI program is the CEO themselves, because they need to put their hand up and say, hey, I want everyone to see that I feel like I need to change and improve. So before I put you through it, I want you to know that I'm going through it myself, and show a little humility and say, hey, I still have things to learn. Even though I've been in this business for 40 years and I work from the ground up and now I'm the CEO or whatever, I need to learn and I need to change too. And then when they put people on other teams through programs and through this leadership development process, they can say, okay, well, they did it and they got results, so it must work for me too, and I'll do it too. And that starts to change the culture, because it's showing that leadership, the top leadership in the organization, is not too prideful to say that, well, I don't need it, but you do. Because then it's like, well, you just think I'm a problem and you just think I need development, but you don't need it yourself. but the team here thinks you need it, but you're saying you won't take it, right? So to really change culture, the top executive leadership needs to go through the programs first and show the entire organization, hey, we're changing. We want to be agile. We want to make an impact on you. We want to change the way our culture is and all those things, and then start trickling that down through the entire organization through programs and through those processes as well. So yeah, I 100% agree that you got to change the culture as well as invest in people.
Thank you. Now we will take a question from Mr. Abdulaziz.
Hi, alaikum salam. Thank you for this good presentation, Mr. Jonah. The first time you say salam alaikum, you did it great, in a great thing.
Yeah. Good.
My sound is great. Yeah. My question is now the communication for the leadership with the company and the staff, the other people is the most important now. We have a good experience from people, a good certificate, and they are certified, but sometimes that people, they don't get that chance to get a language like English language. They had the school and university here in Saudi or Gulf area. How they can take this chance or this language in the short term from your perspective? Thank you.
Can you say your question one more time? I heard the first part. It just broke up a little bit on my end. Can you say the part of your question at the end one more time for me, please?
All right. If they have the experience, certified, everything, but they don't have the language, like English language sometimes.
Okay.
They don't get the time or chance to travel outside, to study outside. How they can solve this issue from your perspective?
Oh, that's a great question. Man, I want to make sure that when I answer a question, it's something I know, and I don't want to give you an answer just to sound like I know what I'm talking about when I really don't know what I'm talking about. This topic, I'm not 100% sure on, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I don't know the best way to improve language as far as like English, Arabic, Spanish, those things. I do know that here at LMI, we're working on something right now to help English as a second language and some other languages. We're working on using our leadership development process, the same outline process we use here. We're working on something that we'll release internationally to do that, to help with that. So what I will commit to is I will make sure Dr. Mazen and Ayman know that when we're done with that they know that it's available, to pass that along and let you all know. But I'm sorry, I'm not much of an expert on like learning new languages. So yeah, I don't want to give an answer on something I'm not too confident on. I hope that's okay. It's a great question. That's not really my area of expertise.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now we will take a question from Mr. Ibrahim Al-Ghamdi.
Okay, I would like to start by thanking you all for having this session and having us on here. I would like to thank you, Jonah, for your time and for the valuable information you have given so far. I'm having a concern here. Now, since COVID-19 has hit the world, every organization is going towards digital transformation, changing its business to be digital more than the typical business. Some organizations are led by elder generation, if I may say, that are not familiar with the new concept of business. So I would like to start by asking you, how would you see this change in the world is affecting businesses, and how do you, I would say, consult businesses to go forward with these changes?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So really that comes down to the fact that in our programs, people are in groups, right? And so you have people of all different generations inside of a program together. And in our programs, we focus on, if you remember when I spoke about the Effective Personal Leadership program, in all of our programs, we focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. So the elder generation, they may not be great with technology all the time. That's not a catch-all. You know, some elder generation are probably way better than I am with technology, right? But not all of them. And so if they're not, but they probably have a lot of wisdom about speaking with people, about their business, the concept of the business, and those kinds of things. So if you have leaders being developed that are of that elder generation that are really wise with the business and the concepts of the business and those things, and then you also have leaders being developed that are the younger generation that know how to apply concepts and things in the new digital age with after COVID and those kinds of things. And then you have them communicate and work together throughout the same leadership process in an LMI program or something like that. It's this beautiful marriage of two people being able to use their strengths and two generations working together. I think the problem is right now, we assume everyone has to be good at everything, and that's just not possible. You have some people that are really good with technology, some people that are really wise and great listeners and speakers and different things. And so by using them all together in a team and putting them all through a leadership transformation process together, then they realize, okay, you're good at this, and you're good at this, and I'm good at this. So if we all work together and we all have our own personal and professional goals that we're all achieving, the overall business improves because we're focusing on our strengths, not our weaknesses. And then they get to know each other better, and they realize that they can ask for help from others as well, because in our programs, you have to be humble in the programs and say, I need to get better in this area. So in that humility and through that open communication, let's say you have someone younger like myself, and I need help, I can go to someone who's of the elder generation, who's really wise about something in the business. And I can say, hey, now that I know you, can I get some help with this? I know you know about this more than I do. Could you help me with this? Same goes the other way. The elder generation says, you know, I've been through this program with this person who's younger, and they're good with technology and those things. So when I need help, I'll go to them and ask for help. And so not only are they learning these hard skills, or the soft skills that are developed throughout the program, but they're learning these other soft skills of learning how to collaborate with multiple generations who have different things that they're good at. So I think that's kind of how it applies, how this process can help with that. So I hope that answered your question.
Very well said. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone has any more questions? If anyone has any question, please ask. Okay, Dr. Mazen Balila, go ahead.
Yes, first I'd like to thank MARKO Advance for organizing this terrific webinar, and thanks for Jonah Erbe, the Vice President of LMI, for giving us all this intensive information in a short time. And thank you for bringing out all these statistics, which prove that the world need proper programs and process to develop leaders. My question to Jonah, how LMI was able to overcome the challenge of the differences between in cultures between different countries, like advanced countries and developing countries. Also, these materials themselves have developed for corporate. Would it fit for governmental organizations and academic organizations and so on? Because you talked about 75% of the leaders in year 2025 will be from the young generation, the millennials. I think in Saudi it will be more than this, because we are a fast growing country and many leaders are taking very important positions in early age, which reflect the vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia. So how can LMI programs can fit also in to be cross-cultural in different countries, and also how it can fit in governmental organizations and academic organizations? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mazen. Appreciate that. And it's a great question. This is probably the question I get most excited about. So thanks for asking it. And I promise I did not tell Dr. Mazen beforehand to ask this question. I promise. But I do really like this question. The reason I love this question is because the beauty of the LMI process and just this leadership development process that we do is that it's not specific to any culture or any person. We don't deal with every new thing that comes out. We believe that every single person deals with something we call the human condition, that are these internal challenges and problems that every single human faces and has faced for all of history. Since humans were around, we've all faced a lot of the same issues. They just take different forms in different cultures and in different time periods. So we're facing the same issues now that we faced 1,000 years ago. They just look different now than they did back then. So when these programs were originally developed in the 1960s, the world looked a lot different. However, just 3 years ago, the world looked a lot different. So we update the language in our programs to reflect modern society, but the overall concepts and process of changing people from the inside out work with our brains and work with the internal part of every single person to overcome the challenges that every human faces, regardless of culture, regardless of nationality, regardless of economic status, gender, whatever it may be. No matter your background, it doesn't matter. They work with every single person. And so would they work for universities or governments? 100%. One of our top selling industries worldwide is cities, like municipalities, local government organizations, because they'll put their whole teams through programs because they're supposed to have these big visions for their cities and these plans, and they get so all over the place and there's so many projects going on, they don't know how to stay focused. And so they use our programs. Huge businesses, like I know we've done programs with Salesforce and Coca-Cola, different things like that. And then also with the small businesses with, 20 employees, they've used it. Universities, like I believe KAU in the GCC region has done over 3,000 programs with LMI and is rapidly moving up in the world. It's one of the top global universities, not just the top university in Saudi Arabia or in your region, but in the entire world. And they owe a lot of that success by putting their leaders through the LMI process. So there are so many things that our program deals with that are not just based on a new trend. It's based on humanity's deep inner struggles that have always been here and will always be here. And those won't change, but the way they come out will change. And that's what we deal with, the root problems, not the new way that it looks, if that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Very good answer. I'm satisfied.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Mazen.
Thank you for all this answer. I believe this is it will be our last question here. So as you know, there is a new program regarding the academic leadership. If you could tell us a little about it and how it will help academic people, how it differs from other programs, I hope it will be useful information also.
Yeah, great question. So first and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Mazen for helping us create that program. Dr. Mazen's name is on the cover of the program because he was such a vital component to that. So between Paul J. Meyer's wisdom and how to goal set and how to change through spaced repetition, through Randy Slechta, our CEO's knowledge of the process now, and through Dr. Mazen's knowledge of the university space, we've combined all of their best practices into one program following the LMI process. And so in this program, it's taking our process that a lot of organizations and businesses use to increase profit, and we've taken the KPIs that businesses would use and changed those to KPIs that universities will use, because it's different. It's just totally different. And so what we're focusing on is not necessarily growing a business through sales as much or something like that. It's through developing leaders throughout an entire university in a way that impacts university growth. And that growth is just different than how a business would grow. And so we've taken the overall concepts that are boiled down and shifted them over to the industry that is education and universities. And Dr. Mazen, do you have anything you would like to add to that? Because you're the expert on universities. So I would love for you to kind of jump in and help with that too.
Yes. Thank you, Jonah. Definitely, this will be a new program. And thanks for Ayman bringing this subject up here at the end. I hope the universities will get the benefit of this program because it blends the experience of LMI and the local universities, especially those who have advanced in the international rating measurement, like the QS and the Times. And he mentioned KU. Yes, when KU started with LMI in 2009, it was one of the best 2,000 universities in the world. But now it is it has been rated 109, one of the best 109 universities in the world. So this happened only in 10 years, which means that the leadership input was very strong and vital for this advancement worldwide. So I encourage all the universities and the academic institutes to make use of this program and to apply it, as Jonah just mentioned, practically in their life. So thank you very much, Jonah. I hope it will have a great impact on the academic life